recording. Okay. I thought we could start off laying down. So not to put you to sleep or anything. And a couple ways, if you want to do like a really gentle back bend, you can do the block stack thing where we have the one block kind of at the mid back on the baby side, and then the one underneath the base of the skull on the medium side. That might feel good. If that feels like too much, then, you know, obviously don't do it. And if you just want to lay down without any blocks right off the bat, that's fine too. But just get yourself in a comfortable position. So whatever feels good for your body today. So we're going to be doing a little bit of back bend and twists and a little bit of core. We're going to try to touch all the bases, but on a dreary, rainy day, some back bending, heart opening can be a little energizing. And if we happen to be affected by the weather and it's making us feel a little funky, then these stretches through the front body can be helpful to elevate our mood. So let your hands rest and your feet rest wherever feels comfortable for you. Do that little check-in, maybe any little shifts through the neck, shoulder, head, hips, and feet, so that you really feel comfortable and like you're not straining to hold yourself into any specific shape. So let's start by taking a deep breath in through the nose, and a nice long exhaling sigh through the mouth. Let's do that again with this intention of letting the shoulders just drop down to the floor. And one more big full breath. See if you can fill up and then take a little extra sip at the top and then let it all out. Okay. And then just settle into that awareness of your breath. Noticing the breath as it comes in and out of the body. And as you find yourself settling into the breath, perhaps noticing any areas of the body that might be feeling like they're holding a little extra bit of tension or tightness. It might be a little residual jaw clenching. If you happen to grind your teeth at night like I do. Might be some sense of tightness through the neck and shoulders. You've been feeling like you've been carrying the weight of the world lately. There might be some tension through the arms, through the upper arm, forearms, and into the palms of the hands. Maybe you carry your tension through the chest or the mid-back. With every breath, just travel your awareness down through your body and just notice. With just a sense of witnessing, observing, no judgment. The places that feel like perhaps today we're going to be extra careful. Perhaps today there's a little extra cause for tenderness and softness and gentleness. So check through the lower back, lower abdomen, through the hips and the thighs, all the way down into the knees, the lower legs, the ankles, and the feet. As you are aware of your breath, see if you can invite in a fuller and deeper breath, allowing for the belly and chest to expand on that breath in, and then gently sink down and contract on the breath out. So noticing that with that contraction on the exhaling breath, the muscles are just contracting around the abdominal and rib cage area. We're not creating any undue tension through effort through the jaw, the neck, or the shoulders, or any other area. And with this awareness of the body, with this awareness of the breath, a little check-in with your internal weather. How are you feeling today? If you were to describe your internal weather, How would it sound like? Cloudy, rainy, foggy, with a chance of sun. And from this check-in, this touching base of our emotional level, physical, energetic level, perhaps we want to set an intention for our practice today. So maybe the intention will be to find more lightness and joy. Maybe it'll be to remind yourself to be gentle and caring, just as nurturing as you are to someone you love as you are to yourself. Maybe you'd like to dedicate your practice to a special loved one. Let's find an intentional way to move ourselves on our mat today so we can carry that intention off our mat and into the world. Let's take a moment and just see if you can find the words that resonate for you. State your clear purpose, sankalpa, your intention. And you might like to repeat it a couple times more. And if nothing's coming up for you, then maybe just check in with that internal weather and notice how you'd like to show up. Maybe with a little more brightness and sunshine. And that can be your intention for today. Now, for those of you that have been resting on blocks, I'd like for you to really carefully consider your movements. So perhaps finding that engagement of the abdominal muscles to bring the knees up away from the floor, bending the knees, taking your time to lean over to one side, and then just slide your blocks away and place them on the side of your mat. And then just roll your way back over onto your back. So we're going to do a wee little bit of core this morning. And, keeping in mind that intention of taking care. So let's start with bent knees. If you are repositioning yourself, maybe pressing the backs of the arms into the mat to give the chest a little bit of a lift and then letting the spine drop back down. Notice the position of your head. And you can bring your hands wherever feels comfortable for you right now. It might be with the hands by the side. If your lower back's feeling a bit tender today, you might like to just lift your bum up a little bit and then slide the hands underneath your hips. And this just gives a little support for the lower back. So we're going to take it nice and slow. And on an exhaling breath, we're going to draw that right knee towards the body. And then with the inhaling breath, we're going to go ahead and stamp that right foot back down on the mat. So let's do a couple more times. So big breath, exhale, draw the knee in. And then inhale, just let it drop. Yeah, we're making noise. We're having an acceptable tantrum. Okay, so let's do that 3 more times. So exhale, draw the knee in. And then that inhale is just a drop. Yeah, you got it. 2 more times on your own breath. Yeah, good. Feels kind of good, doesn't it? All right, let's do the other leg. So set yourself up. Exhale, draw the left knee in towards the chest. And then inhale, let the foot just drop down. Yeah, you got it. Do that a couple more times. Now, if you find that this is bothering your knee, obviously, bring that foot down with control rather than letting it stamp down. But a really neat thing happens when we find this shock to the body from that pressing down. Okay, let's find stillness. So these piezoelectric currents go through the bones and actually strengthen our bones. So that's a good thing, right? So now we're going to go from having that drop down to control. So with our next exhale, draw the right knee back in towards the chest. See if you can bring the right lower leg so it's parallel to the floor. Feel the navel pulling back towards the spine as you just hold the leg in place, so stationary in the air. So every exhaling breath, see if you can draw the belly button down towards the floor so you feel the lower abdominal muscles engaged as we hold the foot there. We're also starting to activate a bit through the hip flexor. And then with our next inhaling breath, let's bring that right foot back down to the floor nice and slow. Take an in-between breath. And then that next exhaling breath, let's lift the left knee up. So we're going to have that left shin parallel to the floor. We're engaging through the lower abdominal muscles, lower back muscles. So check in if your hands aren't underneath your hips and you feel like there's a lot of pulling on the lower back, slide those hands underneath. Just take another couple breaths here, just feeling the engagement of the lower abdominal muscles, engaging through the core. And then we'll go ahead and inhale to bring that foot back down. So let's take an in-between breath, and this time we'll exhale both knees up. So here's where we get to make that decision of what's going to feel best for our bodies today. So you might like to squeeze the inner thighs, inner knees together. The shins are still parallel to the floor for now, and maybe this is where you want to stay. Or maybe you'd like to experiment with finding this water wheel. So with an inhaling breath, we lift the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. With an exhaling breath and extended legs, we bring the heels and extended legs out towards the floor. They don't quite touch. And then we go ahead and inhale to draw the knees in and up. And then exhale, straight legs, heels towards the floor. So it's a water wheel, inhaling to draw the knees in, lift the legs up, and exhale to lower down. If this feels like it's too much for the lower back, don't push it. Maybe take one leg at a time. So find your rhythm with your breath, lowering and lifting to that degree that feels good for your body. And we're just sort of stirring things up here, engaging through the core, warming up the legs, the hip joints, the knees. Good. All right, now that next time that the heels come down towards the floor, just bend the knees and stamp the feet onto the mat. If you had your hands underneath your hips, you can lift them up and away. And now we're gonna do some real fun things. So we're just gonna roll over onto our front. So your feet are gonna be facing me and your head's gonna be at the back of the room. And it's gonna feel a little bit weird, but I know that you all know the moves, so you can follow the directions and be a-okay. So let's just walk the toes towards the back of the mat. And you can have the tops of the feet resting on the floor. Reach the arms out long in front of you. We're gonna find our way into Sphinx pose. So lift the head a little bit, draw the elbows slowly towards the body. As the chest lifts, take care of the lower back. And just pull the elbows in to that point that feels comfortable for you. If they don't make it to underneath the shoulders, it's no big deal. You want to take care of the lower back. So maybe find that you can press into the tops of the feet and activate the quadriceps. The knees might lift slightly away. See if you can pull the belly up towards the spine, away from the floor. And see if you can pull your shoulders back and shine the sternum forward. Find that perfect place for your gaze to rest. It might be looking down the tip of the nose so that your neck feels comfortable as well. We'll just hold our Sphinx for another 2 breaths. And on that second exhale, let your elbows go up to the side, maybe stack hands or fists. Let your forehead rest on stacked hands or fists. And you might like to rock through the hips or kick the heels up and do a little sachet of the ankles side to side. That feels good for your lower back. And then from this next position, we're just gonna find our way kind of back into that Sphinx, but with a little added inner hip opener. So we're gonna think like Spider-Man crawling up the side of a building. So we're gonna take the right knee out to the right. So that right knee's halfway up, crawling. We can point back through the left toes. And then we can take the left arm out to the left in that like cactus arm shape. And then find a place for your head to rest that feels comfortable for your neck. So for some of us, it's going to be no problem to turn to look towards that left hand and rest the right cheek on the floor. Some of us, that might be too much for neck, and you want to just go with the right hand underneath the forehead, resting the forehead on the floor. So we'll just take a few breaths here, just kind of getting that sense that we've got a nice little stretch happening on the inseam of the right hip, and maybe a little sense of opening through the front of the left shoulder. And so this posture, when we have both knees out to the side, is called Mandukasana, and that means frog pose, but it's quite intense for the hips, so I like to do it one at a time. It's also nice for your lower back. Some of us actually sleep this way, that front lying prone position. So from here, if you're really happy where you are, stay there. Otherwise, you can bring the elbows back in and keeping the right knee out to the right. We're returning to that Sphinx posture, but with the right knee out to the right. So it's like a floor, frog, Sphinx combo. And then check in with the lower back. So you might find that you can't quite pull the elbows in as tight to the body as you could with both legs behind, and that's okay. We want to make sure that we're not crunching the shoulders up towards the ears, so pull the shoulders down away from the ears and find that gaze again so that the neck isn't compromised, maybe looking down the tip of the nose. Good. And then with the next exhaling breath, take the elbows out to the side, rest your forehead, and then bring the right foot back to meet the left. And if you feel like you need to do a little movement before we take the other side, go ahead and do that. And then when you feel ready, we'll go ahead and lift the left knee out to the left. So we're taking that half frog pose on this side, or half Spider-Man pose. And we'll lift the head up and reach the right arm out. So we're making that cactus shape with the right arm. You might be able to turn and look towards the right hand, letting the left cheek rest on the mat, or on the hand, or forehead resting on hand. We'll just take a few deep breaths into this left hip now. And notice that right shoulder dropping down towards the floor. And checking in with how shoulders are feeling. And the entirety of the shoulder here, not just the front or the back. And we'll take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll slowly lift the head up, pull the arms in, so finding that Sphinx position with the arms again, with the left knee out to the left this time. And just adjust as you need the position of your elbows so the chest is lifting just enough without compromising on the lower back. You can kind of make some refinements if you press into the top of the right foot and engage through those leg muscles. You might notice a sense of stretch in a new place, or maybe a sense of support for the lower back. And we'll take another 2 breaths here. And then on that exhale, take the elbows out to the side. Bring the left foot towards the back of the mat. And just take a couple breaths here. Crocodile pose. So this is a nice restorative posture, resting the forehead on the hands or the backs of the hands. Good. Moving any way that feels good for your body. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and lift the head and bring the hands in line with the chest. Tuck the toes under, and on that inhaling breath, lift up the chest away from the mat. Exhale, lift the hips up and back, down dog. And you might like to pedal through the heels, bending the knees. And we'll go ahead and just find stillness for a couple of breaths in our down dog. Maybe a little bend in the knees as we draw the chest back towards the thighs, feeling lots of space along the vertebrae between the shoulders and the ears, space between the fingertips.
Let's take a big full breath in, lift the hips and heels. As you exhale, bend the knees and look to the back of your mat, and then walk the feet to the hands. And let's lift up halfway. Inhale. Exhale, fold. And we're going to rise all the way up, nice and slow, reaching the arms overhead. Good, bring the hands down. Okay, so just have a little look around your mat for your blocks. So we're going to find a full moon mandala flow today. So we're going to turn ourselves around and start at the top of our mat, and then we're going to return to the back of our mat, and then we're going to make our way back to the top of our mat. You might like to have a block at the back and a block at the front, just for a little support for when we go into these lunges. And I'm going to turn the lights on, so that's really going to wake us up. All right, so let's go ahead and find that comfortable position of the feet, that hip width-ish distance apart. And as you press down into the floor, notice that rebounding lift up. We did some opening for the chest. Let's just do a titch more. So hands can either come to the waist and draw the elbows back, or interlace the hands behind the back, whatever feels best in your body. And then as you press down through the feet, lift up through the crown, broaden across the shoulders, tone through the abdomen. Good. And then from here, we're going to find our way into a chair pose. So on your next inhaling breath, sink the hips down, bend the knees, still reaching the chest forward. Oh, I love those snap, crackles, and pops. It's not just me. All right, let's take a couple breaths here. And let's stay with the legs in our chair pose, but reach the arms forward on a breath in and up. Good. Finding some space. Take a big breath in here, and as you exhale, dive yourself forward. A halfway lift on the inhale. And exhale the hands to come down to the floor, or maybe one hand to the floor and one hand to the block underneath the right hand. Let's step the right foot to the back of the mat, and then drop the right knee down. So here's where we might need a little extra padding, or even skipping the knee down on the floor. So that mat is going to be a bit of a nuisance, but we'll make it work. So for the back knee's comfort, I find it's helpful if you have the knee behind the hip, so you're kind of coming up more onto that fleshy bit of the knee. I also find it helpful to tuck my back toes under. You might be totally fine to have the top of your foot down. You do you. Okay, so let's go into this lunge, and we'll bring the left hand to the left thigh, right hand to the left thigh, and just do a little pull back. So as you exhale, pull that left hip slightly back, and then sink it back a little forward on the inhale. Yeah. So that exhale, we're going to pull back, so that's that contraction, and then inhale, let it sink. I'll do that one more time, breathing out, pull back, and exhale, let it sink. Good. So now we're going to get that sense of really being nice and stable. Let's go ahead and reach the arms up overhead. Good. Options here. Keep those arms reaching as they are, or spin the palms forward. Draw the elbows out to the side. So you lift the chest, pull the elbows back. Good. This feels like this is enough of a stretch. Stay here. If you want to add in just a little bit more, you can reach those fingertips towards the back wall and ceiling where they meet. Good. Now let's engage through the core to come upright on an inhale. And then we're going to bring the right hand down to the block and find a little twist here. So left arm will go out to the left, and then we'll reach it up, and just a little gentle twist. So notice when we twist that there's a tendency that that left hip also wants to come along for the ride and swirl out. Let's see if we can keep it scooped in, and think about the twist really happening through the core, through the rib cage, spinning around the axis of the spine. That's awesome. Okay, one more big full breath in here. And on the exhale, we're going to take the hand down, bring it to the inside of the leg. So if we had that mat tucked in, we're going to untuck and release it. We're going to tuck the back toes under, spinning all the way around like a ninja, so that we've got this wide-legged forward fold position happening with the legs. So let's take our wide-legged forward fold, Prasarita Padottanasana. So bring the hands under the shoulders. Inhale, press the tailbone back, crown forward. Exhale, pull the belly in, fold in. So crown of the head dangling towards the floor. You can do a little gentle yes and no if that doesn't feel good.
For your vertigo, you might want to stay a little more upright. Or if your sinuses are feeling a little inflamed, having the head dangling down doesn't feel so awesome. Get that sense of stability through the legs, a little stretch through the hamstrings. Good. With that next breath in, lift yourself up part way. And now we're going to continue that ninja spin to take ourselves to the back of the mat. So turning, walking towards the back. There we go. And then the left knee will lift up and we'll drop the left knee down. Maybe we'll find a little padding underneath. Again, we'll find the block that we so conveniently placed at the back of our mat. And then we'll take our time to rise up. So right hand to right thigh, left hand to right thigh. So we'll do those little pulses. So that exhale, we sort of pull the right hip back a little, and then inhale, sinking it down. 2 more times on your breath. Just moving to your degree. Notice if you need to adjust the position of the angle of the now front foot so that when your knee bends, it doesn't feel like it's pulling. And then we want to get that sense of really being stable through the legs. So the legs are like they're scissoring. So the left thigh is pressing forward, right calf pressing back. We can reach the arms overhead with a big breath in, reaching the palms up. They can stay reaching up, or if you like that chest expansion move, palms forward, elbows out to the side on an exhale. Inhaling to pull the elbows back a little bit more as we lift the chest up. And then we can stay in these cactus arms, or we can try to lengthen the fingertips back behind us, taking care of the core to protect the lower back. And with our exhale, let's come on back up. We're going to bring the left hand down to the floor or to the block. We're going to find that twist. So right arm out to the right. Remember, we want to try to keep the right hip hugging in, lengthen through the spine on the inhale, and then twist that right arm up towards the ceiling. Notice if the left shoulder is dropping down. So there is a tendency there that we just sort of sink everything into that left arm. See if you can press the shoulder away from the ear, find length through the spine, and that rotating of the rib cage around the axis of your spine. Awesome. With that next exhale, bring the right hand down to the inside of the right foot. We're going to find the back toes tucking under if they're not there already. And now we're going to ninja spin our way back to the center of our mat. All right, let's pull the heels in and draw the hips down. We're going to come upright into goddess pose. So you might like your hands on your thighs to come upright. And it might be nice to just do a little side to side movement. So yeah, catching your breath, checking in. Okay, notice if you're really leaning forward, if you can upright yourself, pull the shoulders back. Awesome. All right, let's take the hands to the inner thighs. And I'll give you a couple choices. You can just stay stationary right here with just letting the weight of your upper body lean down through your arms into the palms of your hands and into the inner thighs. Or we can find a little twisting movement. So as we inhale, press the tailbone down, lift the crown up. As you exhale, draw the left shoulder over towards the right. So just a little twist. And then inhale back to center. And then exhale to take the right shoulder over towards the left. So we'll do a couple more rounds of these twists. If for any reason this isn't feeling good in your body, you are not obliged to continue. Good. And just find your rhythm and your pace. A little stretch for the back of the shoulders in this twist. Good. And we're going to come all the way upright once we've done an equal amount of twisting on each side. Spin the heels out, so now the toes are pointing to the long edge of the mat, and our outer edges of the feet are parallel. We're going to reach the arms out, so this is our 5-pointed star. Awesome. So as you press down through the soles of your feet, feel that lift up through the crown. If you want, you can take prana mudra. So prana is that upward movement. not to be confused with prana, the life force energy. It is the upward movement of said life force energy. So we take the pinky finger, ring finger, and connect it with the thumbs. So we're basically making peace fingers. And so the peace fingers can point up or out, whatever feels good for your wrists. Sometimes a nice stretch for the wrist to have them pointing up. Sometimes too much for the wrists, so you might want to point them out. Good, and just take a couple breaths and just imagine that the breath is coming up through your feet and out through the head, neck, shoulders, arms, and chest. Shining like a bright star. Beautiful. With your next exhaling breath, take your hands down to your waist. Okay, we're going to pivot through that left foot. So pull the left heel in. And we're going to set ourselves up for a warrior two. So you might want to heel toe that back foot a wee bit closer. And then we'll settle in. So finding a few pulses, exhaling to bend into that left knee. And inhaling to straighten it up. Notice if you need to do any of those wiggles and jiggles to get everything in that just right place. And then we're going to settle in to find that stability through our warrior two. So float the left arm up and the right arm back. And we're going to look out over the left middle fingers. Feel that sense of stability through the legs. So we think about a tripod, and triangles are the most stable shape. Front foot, back foot, and pelvis is that triangular shape of stability. Good. Let's find our way into our reverse triangle. So left palm flips up, big breath in. Exhale, reach it over. Let the right hand drop down to the right thigh, or you can find that half bind. So reaching the right arm back, spin the hand, bend the elbow, back of the right hand reaching for the left side waist. And notice if the hips lifted up a little bit, and if you can re-bend a little into the knee, get a little more space through the left side body. Awesome. With our next inhaling breath, come all the way back up through warrior two. Exhale, left forearm to left thigh, and let's find some arm circles. So reach the right arm back, and on an exhale, swoop it towards the floor and then to the front. And an inhale, we're making that big rainbow up and back. So we'll find 5 of these circles, and you'll have to trust my counting or call me out on losing track. I know it's only 5, but sometimes it's hard. Good. This is our 5th one, and when we swoop the arm up, let's come all the way up, straighten through the left leg. We're going to make our way into our triangle pose, Trikonasana. So reaching the arms apart, stepping on the gas with the left big toe, big breath in, get long, exhale, pull the left hip back, reach forward. Take another breath, get really long and steady, and exhale. Hand can come to the shin if you've got your block handy and you'd like to hold on to your block. You can place it on the inside or outside edge of your leg, or you can just let your hand rest on your shin. Right arm's going to reach up to the sky. Beautiful. With our next exhale, bend into that left knee, come on up, and then we're going to be really fancy and swiggle and wiggle the feet, or hop the feet to the front. All right, so we did it. We made our way all the way around. Let's take a little pause for water, and we'll make our way all the way around, because we have to do the other side too. Turns out. All right, but I figured you might like to have a little bit of a break, just a hunch. Okay, so let's do it so that we, yes, I got this. All right, so we're gonna find our way, 2 feet, comfortable distance apart, and we are going to, yes, be this way. This is my cue, bless you. All right, so let's find a little chest expansion. So either hands to the waist, pull the elbows back. So starting off the same way we did before, maybe interlacing the hands your non-habitual way this time, if that feels okay. Press down through the feet, reach up through the crown, pull the shoulders back, shine the chest forward, keep the core engaged, and then we'll turn this into our chair pose. So inhaling to sink the hips down, staying a bit upright. Feel as though you're really stable through the heels and the toes. And then we'll go ahead and inhale to release the hands and reach them up. And exhale to dive ourselves forward. Good, that halfway lift on the inhale. And then exhaling the hands to wherever feels comfortable. Maybe one hand on the block, one hand on the floor. Left foot's gonna go ahead and step to the back. And then we're gonna drop that left heel down. So we're setting ourselves up for that warrior two sequence on the right side. So when it feels right for you, come on up. You might like to take that little pit stop of hands on the waist, maybe adjusting the feet. 3 pulses to exhale to bend the knee. And inhale to straighten. Notice if, bless you, the knee, I know. And then we'll settle into our warrior two. Float the right arm up, left arm back. Okay. We'll look out over the right middle finger. So you're gonna feel that stability of triangle support. So through the back heel, front heel, and pelvis. We're imagining that triangle. Steady and strong. Let's turn this into our reverse. So right arm flips up, big breath in, and exhale, reach it back. Left hand can rest on the back thigh or find that half bind, whatever feels good for you. Notice if we kind of lifted off a little bit when we reached back, and see if you can rebend that right knee and sink the hip down. So we're trying to create space through the right side of the body now. Beautiful. And then we're gonna break our way back up to our warrior two, inhaling. Side angle, exhaling. Keep that left arm reaching back. Next exhale, swoop the hand towards the floor and then forward, inhale, arcing it up. So 5 times on your breath, your rhythm, your pace. Did you know that talking and counting at the same time is a really good multitasking skill? Good. And this next time that we come up, we're gonna straighten through that front leg, heading for our Trikonasana. So you might wanna heel toe that back foot a little bit closer. We're gonna step on the gas with the right big toes, reach all the way up through the crown, exhale, pull the right hip back, reach out. Maybe another breath in where we're lengthening and then lowering. And then the hand can come down to the shin. Maybe you wanna reach for that block. Left arm can reach for the sky, or you can rest the left arm down by your hip if that feels better for your shoulder. And this time, see if you can pull that left shoulder back, even if the hand isn't reaching up towards the sky. Beautiful. Remember to breathe. Terrific. On our next inhale, bend into the front knee. Rise yourself all the way up. We're going to pivot through the feet. So we're finding that wide-legged stance again. And this time we're going to add in kind of like doing a really super wide-legged downward dog. So we're going to find our way into that Prasarita Padottanasana and add some side bends. So hands to the waist. Lift up. Pull the shoulders back. Exhale. Feel the navel pulling back as you hinge at the hips to go forward. Reach the hands down for the floor. As you next breathe in, press the tailbone back, press the crown forward. So feel yourself getting really long. From here, we're gonna walk the hands over towards the left side of the mat. So it's as if we're doing a really funky, wide-legged downward dog side bend. So that right arm might go a little bit past the left hand. You might like to tent through the fingertips or karate chop down on the floor or have the palm down if that feels better. But again, we're getting into the right side body. So really opening things up. Take another couple breaths here. And then nice and slow, we'll walk our way back through center and over to the right side of our mat. So pulling that left hip back this time and pressing the palm or side or fingers of the left hand into the floor. Noticing that shoulder. Make sure that it feels like the armpit is pressing towards the floor. And we're breathing into that space. You might feel it through the hip, through the side waist, through the underside of the arm, into the bicep area. And with our next breath in, come on back to center. Walk the hands so they're underneath the shoulders. And then we're going to do a little fun thing of walking the heels in closer and closer and closer till you get this best guess of where your heels would be if you were at the top of your mat and as wide as your mat. And we're going to find Malasana. So go ahead and grab a block or two. If your knees are really wonky today, you're going to make a nice little seat right behind you. If that even feels like it's too much, then you can just make your way into a different position. But if we can do a little bend of the knees and drop the bottom down, and we can have that little chair ready for us just to take some strain off of the back and knees, or we can just kind of see, what does it feel like? Okay, I have 2 blocks. If I go to 1 block, is it okay? If I take away all the blocks, is it okay? So this is Malasana, which sounds so much prettier than squat. Yeah. And we can bring the arms on the inside of the legs. So if you want to stay in more of like a bum up position, if that's better for your knees and back, you can still bring your hands together and the inner elbows to the inner knees and feel that resistance of the elbows and knees. So this is a really good posture to do to keep lots of mobility through the hips. I remember doing it a fair bit when I was expecting, thinking it was going to make labor easier. So funny. All right, so from here, 2 options. Stay where you are, or we can add in this little twist. So reach the right hand down for the right side of your mat. So right fingertips are in front of the right toes. You can keep the left hand where it is, or reach the left arm up. So it's like we're spreading our wings in this big twist. Good. Nice. And then on the exhale, we'll bring the left hand back down and lift the right hand. So we're pressing into that prayer position and finding that little bit of resistance. So inner thigh / knee and outer elbows. And then we can reach the left fingertips down in front of the left big toes and reach the right arm up. So this open twist. Good. Awesome, you guys. Let's go ahead and bring the hands back in. Okay. We've got to do a little bit of balance yet, but then we're going to make our way down to the floor. So 2 ways of doing this. If you really want to tap into that inner leg strength, you can squeeze the inner thighs together and see if you can rise all the way up. Or, do something different to get back to standing. There we go. All right. Phew. All right, let's get into our hips just a wee bit more. Standing figure 4. So if you're feeling like your balance is a little bit wobbly today, then the wall is your friend. The wall is my friend today. So we are going to find our way first into a little bit of a chair pose, since it kind of helps sink the hips down and get it ready. So your hands can be wherever feels most supportive for you. So hands on the wall, hands on the waist, hands out, or bringing the palms together. Whatever feels like it's just going to help you find your center. Look ahead, find that place that you're going to really stare down, that's your drishti, and then slowly shift your weight into the left foot and peel the right heel away. And then we're going to pick the right foot up, cross it over. So this is our figure 4. So depending on how your knee's feeling today, maybe you just want to stick with something more like this. Depending on how your hip's feeling today, maybe you want to press that right knee down, sink a little bit deeper into the chair, and maybe even fold yourself over. Staying upright is always an option. Remembering to breathe is definitely recommended. Beautiful. Press into that standing leg. Come on up on a breath in and release. Let's shake it all out. It is muggy in here. Holy moly. Okay, or maybe that's just me. All right, so second side. Find that perfect position for your feet so you really feel grounded, stable. Hands, palms together, waist, arms out, wherever feels good. Drishti, find that stare down point, a little sink in the knees, shift the weight into the right foot, peel the left heel away. Maybe we can pick that left heel up and cross it over. Maybe we can press that left knee towards the floor, keeping that foot flexed. Maybe we sink down a little bit more. Maybe we even fold our way forward. Remember to breathe. So good, so strong, so quiet, everyone. Come on out on that breath in. Shake it all off. I know, there's so much like focus. I love it. Okay, so there we go. Balance, check. We've got all of the moves done. I thought we could do pigeon pose and maybe put a little spin on it since we did our lunges, that's what they're called. So I know some of you absolutely hate pigeon, and that figure 4 was a little bit of a warm-up, but it's not going to be enough. We're going to find our way into our downward dog. So starting with the feet together, pull the shoulders back, big breath in, sweep the arms overhead, and exhale, dive it forward. Halfway lift on the inhale, bend the knees a lot, hands down, step back, high plank. Good. From our high plank, exhale the hips up and back straight into your downward dog. Good. So here's your decision-making time. If I'm going to do that regular pigeon pose where the knee goes to the wrist, I might like to pick that right leg up on a breath in, draw the right knee over towards the right wrist. If I'm not doing that, I might like to bring my knees down to the floor and find that seated pigeon or a supine pigeon, because after we do our pigeon, we will make our way down onto our back. So you get to decide what's going to work best for your body today. And so I'll just throw in this option. So I like that support underneath. We've kind of been doing this a little bit today where we find that scissoring action from the legs. So think about that outer right knee pressing down and the left hip and thigh pressing together. So you're really engaged. So I can kind of lift myself up and the muscles are engaged. I'm not just sinking down quite yet. And then you can let yourself go and sink down. Options are to stay upright, fold forward, or find our merperson pose. And so we would lift the back heel up. And there's a couple ways that we can do this. So we've kind of done more opening this way. So you can reach the right arm back for that left foot. And you can grab it on the outside or the inside. Maybe you just want to stay here. Or the other way is to reach the left arm back for the left foot. And maybe that would feel better. Maybe they're both just feeling terrible and you want to skip it entirely. So I'm just going to give you those options. So that is our merperson pose. You can stay upright and do that super big stretch through the hip flexor, or you can just fold yourself forward. So you decide which variation of Eka Pada Raja Kapotanasana you would like to take, or pigeon. Wherever we are, notice if there's any tightness or tension or holding through the jaw. And see if you can soften your jaw on an exhaling breath. And then notice if the jaw softens, maybe the shoulders softened a little. And maybe the hips softened a little. Let's take 2 more breaths wherever we are. And then take our time to slowly exit the posture so we can return back to that downward dog. If you're doing a seated or supine variation, you might like to just uncross the legs and do a little sachet of the knees side to side. If you're in your downward dog, you might like to do a donkey kick or 2 with that right leg behind you. And then when it feels just right, to go ahead and lift the left leg up to find that 3-legged dog, and then left knee to left wrist, walking it over, maybe sliding that block underneath the left hip. Taking a moment to get that sense of engaging so that you can feel the strength of the outer left hip and the front of the right thigh. And then letting that settle and sink, the hips down, maybe finding that variation with their armor person. One hand or the other, or maybe none, maybe a little stop in all of the options. And then letting yourself fold forward or staying upright. Whichever variation feels good for you today. Maybe coming back at this time near the end of practice to the intention you set at the beginning of your practice. A little reminder, another little check-in with your internal weather. Have things shifted from the beginning of class to now? Do you feel a little lighter, a little brighter? You're feeling the same, you're feeling different. And there's no wrong answer. Just notice what you noticed. Take another 2 breaths wherever we are. And then slowly, so slowly, allow ourselves to unwind, returning back to that downward dog or tabletop, maybe reaching the left leg back and giving it a shake, or uncrossing the legs and letting the knees drop side to side in a little windshield wiper motion. Okay. For those of us in that downward dog shape, you can bring the knees down and make your way down onto your back on your own time and in your own way. You might like to have all of your Shavasana things kind of at the ready. We will do just 1 or 2 more poses just to let the body really truly be able to settle in to rest. I heard a little bing and I thought it was that, but it's not. All right. So once you get down onto your back, just pull the heels in close to but not touching the buttocks. So we're just going to find a little half bridge, and we'll find this half bridge with some movement if you like. So you might like to start out like we did at the beginning if you didn't take that chest opener. So just pressing the backs of the arms into the floor to give the chest a little lift, and then letting the spine drop down. And then getting that sense that the knees are parallel. And then on the exhaling breath, just pull the belly button down towards the spine. So you just kind of feel that engagement through the core. And then with your next exhaling breath, lift the hips up and just sort of roll the spine away from the floor, all the way up to the mid-back. And then pause here for a big breath in. And then as you exhale, just roll the spine back down. Inhale, release the hips. Exhale, start that curling up. So pull the navel towards the spine, the pelvis lifts, the spine lifts, all the way up to the mid-back. Big breath in, and then that next exhale, let it just sort of roll back down. Let's do that a couple more times on your rhythm and pace. So that exhale, we feel the navel pull in, tailbone tips up, spine peels away. Big breath in at the top. And then an exhale, we roll the spine back down. One more time. Make sure that you're engaging through the glutes and thighs as well as through the abdomen. Okay, this time we're going to hold it up there. So peel the spine away from the floor as you lift the hips up. And then you can decide, maybe your hands just want to stay by your side. Maybe you want to interlace the hands and curl the shoulders under. So a little chest expansion as we lift up and stretch through the front body. Make sure it feels okay for your neck. Feel the inner thighs pressing down towards the floor. Press the feet into the floor. That lengthening through the spine without any compromise on the lower back. And then we'll make our way out nice and slow, releasing the hands and exhaling to roll the spine all the way back down to the floor. And in between breath, once the hips hit the mat. And then we'll draw the knees in to the chest on an exhale. Give ourselves some movement, rocking side to side, maybe taking hands to knees and making those circles around the sacrum and lower back. And giving yourself another minute here to Either begin to settle into your preferred shape of Shavasana. So that might look like laying on your back, laying on your side, laying on your front, not laying down at all, maybe finding a comfortable seat. And really giving yourself a chance to settle in, to feel supported. Offering yourself any which way that feels like the best way to position your body for your comfort and your relaxation. And so if you like to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you'd rather keep them open, you can keep them open. I'd like to just settle in with finding some pressure as we inhale, pressing the hands or the forearms into the floor. So finding that resistance with that breath in. And then the exhale is letting the weight of the arms just settle into the floor. I'm just taking a couple regular breaths here, just feeling the heaviness of the hands, the forearms, the upper arms, and the shoulders settling in place. And then you might like to find that pressure of the feet or the heels pressing into the floor as you take a breath in. So finding that resistance of pressing the lower body down. And then that release. Letting all the muscles soften through the rib cage, the abdomen, the low back, the hips, the thighs, the glutes, the calves, through the joints of the knees, the ankles, and the toes. As long as your neck feels okay to do so, you can also take a breath pressing the back of the head into the floor. So finding that resistance, breathing in deeply, and then the exhale, softening and letting go. And just letting the full weight of your head be supported by the surface beneath it. Feeling with every exhale, muscles of the neck, upper back, and shoulders soften even more. And the head gets heavy. Even the muscles of the face begin to soften a little bit more with each exhale. Softening the forehead, the eyebrows, the edges of the eyes and the eyelids, along the cheekbones, the edges of the nostrils, the corners of the lips. Softening all along the jawline and even inside the mouth, letting the tongue feel relaxed and dropping down. And so I have a poem today by Joy Linton, and it's called Lightness. Hot coals burn these palms of mine as a daily kind of frantic juggling act goes on. Each burden sears my soul as I grasp tightly at insubstantial things which dissipate, like smoke, like lifeless rings blowing here and there. But if I pause, slow down, breathe you in with every inhalation, I take my empty hands of faith, become filled with rich gifts of light, of life, hope, joy, and peace. Here in the stillness, I let my burdens drop down into your waiting hands, falling as dust, without form, substanceless. Each weighty care flows freely, as if it were a balloon, a mist, but vapor rising, then falling over distant hills. I watch them all floating on a breeze, while lightness also fills my mind, my heart, my spirit, and a smile twitches itself onto my upturned lips. leave you with these words for another moment. And should you find yourself becoming distracted by thoughts or burdens, I encourage you to place them in a balloon. Let them float away over the distant hills. Come back to your breath. And find your attention and awareness coming back to the sensation of your body resting now. Feeling the points of contact with your body and the floor. And aware of the breath. And an invitation for the breath to lengthen and deepen. And then an invitation for the parts of the body that feel called to move to find some movement, small or large. And giving yourself permission to take your time to find your way to your side in your own time, in your own way, at your own pace. And when it feels right to come upright and find that comfortable seat, take your time to do so. Again, giving yourself permission to move on your own rhythm, your own pace, in your own way. All right. So we found that comfortable seat. Let's bring our palms together in our Anjali Mudra. You can let your eyes close or just look down, thumbs above the heart, shoulders relaxed and drawn back. A little tip of the chin in the direction of the heart. Maybe one more touchstone of that intention. Checking in with your internal weather. Reminding yourself of the intention perhaps you set at the beginning, or of the person you dedicated your practice to today. We'll seal our class with the chanting of Om. As always, invitation is there to sit and receive or join in. If you'd like to join in, big breath in, long breath out. Big breath in. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you, everybody. You're welcome. And now, stop recording.